What's up, Daily Dieter Podcast? What the hell is the date? March 15th, Friday. Sorry we're a little late today. Appreciate anybody who has joined in at roughly 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm not going to lie, I slept in. I got a 1.5-year-old. My wife took her to daycare this morning, and I ended up sleeping in until 10:30 a.m. It was pretty incredible. I highly recommend it if you get the shot. We're going to do a hodgepodge today because there's nothing obvious and appreciable and clear cut. We've already talked enough Luis Matos. I'll make my plea to the Giants front office again for Luis Matos to be the opening day right fielder in a little bit. But there's a lot of just news and notes that I want to get to, quick hits here on a Friday heading into the weekend. And let's start with a small thing, a minor league thing, a second division thing is probably a better way to put it. The Oakland Roots are going to play at the Oakland Coliseum in 2025. The Oakland Soul, the women's team, is going to play at the Coliseum in 2025. And on a personal level, that's a huge win. It's a huge win. I live in Alameda. I used to live right next to Laney College in Oakland. Loved it when the Roots were there. Easy to go. Great time. That there is something to be said about the Oakland Roots. They're beyond a t-shirt company. You see the logo everywhere. It's a great logo. They have great branding. They are a very good business from what I can tell. And the soccer, listen, is it the highest level? No. But when was the last time you watched an MLS game and thought this is the highest level? I mean, even with Messi, there's a pretty significant drop-off. I'll watch the Earthquakes over the weekend, and I'm not really sure if I'm going to watch the soccer if I'm going to an Earthquakes game, but I'm not giving John Fisher money, so I'm not going to an Earthquakes game down in San Jose. As good of a time as they might be with that world's largest outdoor bar and all that. By the way, it seems as if a lot of people in the Bay Area have made that decision as well. I think the Quakes had a pretty poor attendance for their opening game, and they're not a very good team this year, from what I can tell at least. Maybe they'll roll into it. Maybe they'll find a little groove, but listen, for the East Bay, this is a big win. The Coliseum is going to have an anchor tenant in the Oakland Roots. The Coliseum will have purpose. I think it will have a lot of life, right? The Coliseum's kind of getting the glow up on the basis of the A's don't want to be there anymore, but at least someone else wants to be there. And the charm of the Coliseum, as minimal as it might be, has really been played up over the last couple of years with A's fans, and credit to them. You could do a whole lot worse than the Coliseum. Not really sure where, but you could. It's a great fit for the Roots, and I'm excited to see what they do with the place. And I'm excited to go to games because, again, this is a huge win for your boy. That's a 10-minute drive at the absolute most. I can ride my bike over there for a lot of the games. Now, I probably do need to get a bike that can handle what is essentially lunar level asphalt. I mean, you need the Moon Rover to get over some of the streets once you get off the island and over into Oakland to go head to the Coliseum. But I've done it a couple of times, and if you know where the potholes are, that will definitely take out your bike spokes. You can avoid them, and you can get to the game for free. You can avoid those extra charges. Man, I went to an A's game last year with my daughter and a buddy. Tickets cost like $4 on the secondary market. That wasn't the impediment. The impediment was that they were like, you got to pay $30, $40 to park here. And then I made the mistake of saying, well, fuck that. I'll just go park at the BART parking lot and walk over. Of course, my car got broken into in the BART parking lot. And by the way, BART police still waiting for the follow-up there on the old window breaking situation. Just waiting for that call. It's been almost a year. Great job, everybody. Listen, that's a $300 mistake on my end. Me being dumb enough to think I could park a car in a BART parking lot in East Oakland. That's a moron move. That's putting way too much faith in the system. And BART police, I mean, that's an oxymoron. Regardless, there is impediment to go into A's games because they charge you so much to park your damn car. We'll see what the Roots do with that. I'd imagine that they would heed the advice of the Oakland A's and by doing that, go the exact opposite direction. But very excited to see that the Coliseum is going to have a new anchor tenant. It's going to be the Oakland Roots. They're trying to build a new stadium right over there by the Coliseum. We'll see if that ever comes to fruition because building stadiums in the East Bay, not exactly an easy thing to do. But excited for the Roots to be back in Oakland. They've been playing in Hayward for the last couple of years, and that's a bit of a haul for me for second division soccer. I gotta lay that on the line right here. But as somebody whose YouTube algorithm is apparently only non-league English football and the business of it, I mean, this is a huge win for your boy. So excited to get out to the Coliseum, root for the Roots, and the Soul, who are going to be in the second division of the women's game. And I am excited to see what Bay FC can do. But again, that's a bit of a haul for the East Bay folks going down to San Jose for Bay FC, the new women's team in the NWSL. Okay, 49ers news. Devondre Campbell signs. So the 49ers have made up for their, I don't know if it was totally a mistake. At the same time, they didn't do well enough. So yeah, let's call it a mistake. They had Eric Kendricks on the line, and they let him off. They let him off the hook. And Eric Hendricks is a Dallas Cowboy now. That pen hit paper today, and they went with Devondre Campbell. Eric Hendricks would have been a better player. Devondre Campbell isn't a bad player. Again, this is a very strange scenario for whomever's coming in this case, Campbell, because you're not the starting will side linebacker once Dre Greenlaw comes back, at least presumably. You are the starting weak side linebacker for the first 4, 5, 6 weeks. So a strange job that you're signing up for. Devondre Campbell more than qualified to do that job. And you were always going to get a guy whose best football was behind him, but you needed a veteran option just because you can't go with a kid. Maybe Jalen Grand comes into training camp and just rips things up. A lot of people are very high on him. I can see why they're very high on him, but that can't be your only option. That can't be your play. If the kid comes out and beats Devondre Campbell day in, day out in training camp, then you roll with him. At least you have Campbell there as a backup if you need him. And in Campbell's case, at least you have Graham there as an upside backup if you need him. But you had to have two options for the starting weak side linebacker job with Dre Greenlaw out. And Devondre Campbell is a very solid option there. Not as good as Eric Kendricks, but a very solid option there. A thing of note, Vikings are clearly trading up to a quarterback. And here's my comment on it. Imagine trading up for J.J. McCarthy. So that's what I think the Vikings are about to do here. They're going to trade up for J.J. McCarthy. I don't think anyone with the 49ers can make fun of him, but I can. I can make fun of them. 49ers fans who are deep, people who refer to the team as we, they can't make fun of anybody for trading up for a quarterback in the draft. But I can. And I think it's ridiculous that you would trade up to get J.J. McCarthy because I don't think they're getting to 1 or 2 or 3. I think they're going to have to trade up to 7 or 8. Maybe they can get to 5, but that's trading up for J.J. McCarthy. Best of luck, Vikings. Aaron Donald retired. And this has been something that he had hinted at for years now. He finally did it. 10 years, 10 Pro Bowls. The only other player defensively in the history of football to go to 10 Pro Bowls in his first 10 years. Lawrence Taylor. Arguably the greatest defensive end of all time. I would say the greatest defensive end of all time. I'm not going to argue with you about it, though. So Aaron Donald, a dude of all dudes. And in a weird way, is the 49ers' biggest win of this offseason so far Aaron Donald retiring? I think it is. I don't like the Leonard Floyd signing. I think Yetur Gross-Matos was grossly overpaid. They messed up at weak side linebacker by not getting in Kendricks. They redeemed themselves a little bit today, but it's still a downturn. It's still not as good. They don't have a number 2 cornerback. They went out and got Malik Collins. I'm not sure Malik Collins moves the needle at all, but he can start for you. You can do worse. The 49ers were certainly going to try to do worse with Jordan Elliott. They cut Eric Armstead. I mean, is the win of the 49ers offseason Aaron Donald retiring? Because it's probably going to do more to help the 49ers than anything they've done this offseason so far. The Rams were looking mighty formidable. Mighty formidable. They've made some nice free agent signings. They've drafted exceptionally well over the last couple of years. That's allowed them to sort of get through these bridge years, deal with the salary cap, and now push forward to where they can sign guys again, where they do have some stability across the roster. Matt Stafford obviously helps with that. Cooper Kupp helps with that. But like a guy like Puka Nacua, who they were able to get late in the draft, just being awesome. I mean, that speaks to the quality of the Rams operation. The Rams know what they're doing. They're a very, very well-run organization. You might not like me saying that, but they got a great coach. They got a great GM, and they have a clear vision for what it is they're trying to do. And a lot of that vision included Aaron Donald being in the middle of their defensive line. Now, they are in a better position today than they were last year to handle not having Aaron Donald around, but this is a huge loss for the Rams, and that means it's a big win for the 49ers. Again, it might be the biggest win the 49ers have had all offseason, and that speaks to their offseason and the impact of Aaron Donald. The Niners are still probably the team to beat in the NFC West. They're unquestionably the team to beat in the NFC West, just given their stature, but I thought the Rams were going to make a real push this year, and things were going to get really interesting at the top of the division again. With Aaron Donald being out, I don't feel as confident for obvious reasons that the Rams can make that push, but don't write them off entirely. They're still going to be right there. They were still a playoff team last year with a bunch of fifth rounders and Aaron Donald on their defense. They're still a high quality operation. Don't write them off, but maybe don't think that there's going to be any real competition at the top of the NFC West. Though the 49ers have a real chance to come back to the pack a little bit if they continue to do what they've done so far this offseason. Stanford fired Jared Haas. I can't believe it took him this long. I'm not somebody who, especially at a place like Stanford, looks at the situation and tries to be reactionary at all, but this is a guy who got a vote of confidence in 2021, 2022. I mean, he got 2 more seasons after a vote of confidence, and last year he didn't do anything to show that he deserved that vote of confidence at the end of the 2022 season. We've just been talking about this for years. This has been something that a lot of people who care about Stanford have been telling me about, that this guy's got to go, that the program has no direction, that there's no juice at all. And I'm glad that they finally pulled the trigger. They're going to the ACC next year. So if you thought Pac-12 basketball was too tough for Stanford, wait until you get a load of the ACC. Haas had to go. 8 years is incredible for as little as he did. I don't think they were going to make the tournament the year it got canceled. And this is a program that should consistently be competing to go to the tournament. I'm not saying they should win their conference or anything like that, but Stanford basketball should be a lot better than it is currently. And Jared Haas has a lot to do with its current status. They're going to a much tougher league next year. And Jared Haas couldn't come with them. I don't really know where you go. I don't keep up with college basketball like that anymore, but there's a pretty damn good coach down at Santa Clara. Wouldn't even have to move. I might consider moving him over, bringing him on in, Herb Sendek. So, Jared Haas out at Stanford. Another quick signing for the 49ers, Chase Lucas. He's another special teams guy. Oh, and Dorian Flanagan Fowles got re-signed. And the 49ers have spent a lot of money on special teams. That's cool. Not sure it will appreciably change anything on special teams. They've spent a lot of money on special teams. They put a lot of capital into special teams. If you look at last year's 3rd-round pick and you look at what they're paying Mitch Wisnowski, like special teams is getting some real cash here. I don't think that was the 49ers' issue last year. Their issue was their defense fell apart. And I don't think just changing your defensive coordinator is going to really fix that on the whole, especially when you've lost the kind of talent that they've lost on the defensive side. They may be the same at defensive end. They've paid a lot more for them. They're going to be worse at defensive tackle, even though I don't think Eric Armstead was giving you much, if anything at all, towards the latter part of the season. Linebacker is a big question mark, though. I guess, a little bit better than it was yesterday. Definitely wasn't as good as it was the day before that. And then there was that weird thing that happened in the middle there. And they still don't have a number 2 corner. I come back to this point again and again and again. If the 49ers defense is going to take a step back, and I think right now you have to presume it's going to take a step back, given the talent loss, given the attrition, all that, the 49ers offense then has to take a step forward. Where the hell are they to step forward? They were the best offense in the NFL last year, and they were a unit that was historically great by several metrics. Does that offense have room to step forward? I'm not saying they can't do what they did last year again. I'm just saying, can they make up for the deficiency on the defensive side that appears to be there? I don't see it. I don't see that. I don't think that's a reasonable expectation to make up for the deficiency that I see on the defensive side of things. So Chase Lucas, who can play some corner for you, but is really being brought in as a special teamer, doesn't move the needle for me. I'm still looking at Stephon Gilmore as a real option at number 2. There's a lot of argument apparently online over how much money the 49ers have. Imagine giving a damn. Imagine really caring what the salary cap situation is for the San Francisco 49ers. You have a 2-year Super Bowl window. Now, maybe you want to expand that a little bit, and you can make some moves. We talked about yesterday, trade Deebo Samuel. You can maybe take a hit a little bit this year, but expand your window moving forward. Regardless, imagine giving a damn what the salary cap situation is. Imagine getting into an argument online over how much cap space the 49ers really have. That couldn't be me. It couldn't be me. Oh, and Chris Conley's coming back. He's a special teams guy too, though I do like him a lot on a personal level. And I do think he's actually a pretty good receiver. He had a nice catch in the Super Bowl, had a nice catch against the Packers. Like he's a pro's pro. And again, I have no problem with any of the. I have no problem with Chase Lucas. I have no problem with Dorian Flanagan-Fowles. I have no problem with Chris Conley. I have a little bit of a problem with giving George Odom $5 million a year. You're paying him now double what Matthew Slater was getting paid for the Patriots, the greatest special teams specialist of all time. You're paying that guy. You're paying George Odom double, and you don't want him playing safety at all. Okay. If that's how you want to go about your business, I don't mind upgrading on special teams. I don't mind addressing it. I just don't see the upside, especially when you still have glaring holes in other places. And now you're going into a draft where you should probably be looking at wide receiver. You need to be looking at offensive line for obvious reasons. You need to be looking at defensive tackle. You need to be looking at defensive end. You need to be looking at cornerback. You probably can get another safety. Now you got a lot of things that you need to do with pick 31 and your second round pick and your third round picks. Like you have a lot of things you need to do. And I don't like going into the draft with needs. Now, possibilities and here's a chance and need is very specific, and bad teams go into the draft with a lot of needs. Good teams go into the draft. They might have one need. They might have one guy who's pretty obviously going to be their dude, and they can move around however they need to go. But like the draft is too much of a crapshoot to go in with multiple needs and only one first round pick. John Feliciano resigned as well. That was a good pickup. No reason to let John Feliciano go. He was your better right guard this past season. It's probably ridiculous to do another rotation with Spencer Burford at right guard and John Feliciano. Feliciano can also give you some snaps at center, can play left guard. So like this is a good, solid move. Nothing wrong with that at all. But again, we're not moving the needle, and you're not filling the big holes that you have on defense. The biggest one right now being number 2 corner. Okay, let's talk Giants real fast. Giants are currently playing the A's in spring training. We're having a great time. Excited to I'm going to listen to that whole thing from the start because I presume it's not on television, because why would Major League Baseball and the San Francisco Giants put their product on any sort of a television, even MLB TV? Why would anyone want to engage with their product during the most engaging time of the season, the most interesting time where stuff is actually happening? Why would they want to appease the diehard fans, the people who really care, and give them this? So luckily I'm going to spring training this time next week. And so I don't think we'll do a live stream this time next week, or maybe we will with my dipshit friends, but still I cannot get over the fact that they don't even have some dude with a handy cam in center field taking video of this stuff so I can see what, Jordan Hicks is doing today. I think Joe Rizzo's doing a great job. I've really liked FP Santangelo on the call. You get some John, you get some Dwayne, you get some Dwayne's brother. Like you get plenty of quality radio broadcasts, and nobody loves radio broadcasts more than Dieter Kurtenbach. But geez Louise, Major League Baseball, and geez Louise, Giants. I expect this shit from the A's. The Giants only putting on like 1 out of every 5 games on TV. I get it. I get you don't want to put your top guys in there. It probably costs some money. I get all that, but it just seems unacceptable to me with the kind of money that Major League Baseball is making and the amount of quality that I'm asking for, which is minimal at best. If my fat ass could put on a daily stream once a day, why can't you stream your goddamn games? Okay, that's that. But let's talk Luis Matos. Let's talk Kyle Harrison. I'm bullish on both of these guys for obvious reasons. Let's start with Harrison, plus 2,500 at Caesar Sportsbook right now to win Rookie of the Year. And I saw that Jeff Passan had that in his preview column today. And I thought that was a pretty interesting number. And then I kind of thought about it a little bit harder. And the more I think about it, the more I really, really like it. You got obviously Yamamoto, Imagaja, whatever. Sorry. Apologies to the new Cubs pitcher who just raked the Oakland A's the other day, as many teams will do. You have Jung-Hoo Lee. So you have guys who are rookies, but are really, well-established pros coming in from an inferior but quality league. So they're rookies, and probably Yamamoto's the way to go if you were to put down a bet for National League Rookie of the Year. But think about this, like Kyle Harrison's probably going to get more innings than Yamamoto. I would bet that Kyle Harrison, who has very few innings under his belt, is going to get more innings than Yamamoto, who the Dodgers are probably going to go to a six-man rotation. They're going to be concerned about his workload. They put a lot of money into him. I think they're going to be more conservative than not as it pertains to this guy. And, we don't really know how his stuff is going to play. There's a lot of really positive reports from spring training. There's a lot of people who are really bullish on him, but, you get yourself into the cauldron, you might find out the fire's too hot. So, listen, are those the best bets? Absolutely. Go with the guy who has done it at a high level, even if it's a lower level than the major leagues. But Kyle Harrison showed us a lot last year. And Kyle Harrison needs to be the number 3 on the San Francisco Giants. It's great that Alex Cobb is coming back, and he might be here in May, might even be here sooner than that for the Giants. Like, that's a real positive. At the same time, right now, your rotation, the two guys that you trust going into the season are Logan Webb, who, by the way, has been god-awful this spring. Just quick run of the numbers. It'd be lovely to see a good start from Logan Webb before the start of the season. 22 hits, 13 earned runs, and 11.2 innings for Logan Webb so far. And this, in theory, in front of a defense that's supposed to be better. Oh, boy. Listen, all the faith in the world in Logan Webb, but would sure like to just see you cruise 3 innings. You can even blow up in the 4th. Just cruise through 3 innings for me. Just I feel a little bit better about everything. Just feel a little bit better about everything because these numbers are gargantuan and quite awful. And if that's how Logan Webb pitches within, 20% of these numbers, you got a real problem here. So it's Logan Webb is one guy you can trust, despite he hasn't shown us anything trustworthy so far this spring. And it doesn't appear as if he's like working on new stuff. So a little bit of a concern there. Regardless, the other guy you trust is Kyle Harrison. And I don't think there's a good reason to trust Kyle Harrison, but you have to trust him because you don't know if Jordan Hicks is going to be a guy who can give you 5-6. He's been awesome this spring. I really like Jordan Hicks. I think it was a shrewd pickup in the moment. I think it's a shrewd pickup today. But I don't think you can trust Jordan Hicks, who has like 6 career starts. You can't trust any of the other arms because either they're unproven or they're injured. Kyle Harrison is the second most trustworthy option on this team. And the Giants, I think, are going to ride him. I think they're going to ride him all the way to the gates of hell. And I think he has the stuff and the temperament and the juice, the opportunity for sure to really do something interesting and special this year. And it wouldn't shock me at all if he were to, at the end of the season, look like the absolute best rookie. So plus 2,500 seems like a pretty good bet to me. I don't think Luis Matos is even eligible. I don't know. He had, 75, 76 games last year? I don't know if he's even a rookie anymore, but he should be the Giants' opening day right fielder. And the more I look into it, the more I just feel like the Giants are being cowardly. The more I think that the Giants just don't want to do the thing that they know they should do because they're afraid of the possibility it might not work out. And I look at a division where you have the reigning National League champions. You have a Padres team that just went out and got Dylan Cease, who, if nothing else, has the stuff. And you have a Dodgers team that is downright unfair. That's your competition in your division. You should take some swings. I don't think conservatism is going to help you in the National League West. Just one man's opinion. Luis Matos has been tearing up the Cactus League. I'll throw you the numbers here real fast. 31 at-bats going into today. 9 runs, 9 hits, 3 home runs, though 2 of those were in one game. So, sometimes the wind catches you. 7 RBIs. Slashing 290, 371, 742. Now, that's not going to be Luis Matos in a major league regular season. But for a guy who is expected to have an above 300 on-base percentage, a guy who's expected to hit with a little bit of average, and a guy who showed a lot of power last year, it just wasn't over-the-fence power. It was a lot of warning track power, but has now put on maybe 15, 20 pounds and certainly looks heavier on his lower half. I think he's driving those balls. I mean, the home runs that he's had are not cheapies. I think he's driving those warning track balls over the fence. And I think you're looking at a guy who can give you 20 home runs this season. And I'm looking at a Mike Yastrzemski who hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. And that's how it's been for the last 3 years. Doesn't stay on the field every day. Is really a platoon option as a left-handed hitter. His glove is fine. This glove is fine. I think it's probably overrated. It's fine. And you're looking at Austin Slater. You've put in $12 million into one outfielder there, essentially, because Slater is going to be your small side platoon, and then Yaz is going to be your strong side platoon, and you're going to rotate those dudes, and you have a really good glove in Slater, though you don't really need that glove in center field anymore with Jung-Hoo Lee. And it seems as if the Giants are waiting for Slater to fail. It seems as if the Giants are waiting for it to be just so obvious with Mike Yastrzemski that he's not going to be the same player that he was in 2020, despite the fact he hasn't been, save for 2-week stretches, followed by 6-week downturns since 2020. It just feels as if they don't want to roll the dice with Luis Matos to start the season because they want one of those two guys to fail. And given that both of those guys are going to have shorter spring trainings because of their injuries, they're not going to declare their spring trainings, which have been awful, a failure yet. It just seems like a really conservative, kind of passive way to handle this situation when you got a guy who is absolutely red hot at the plate, a guy who is the kind of win this organization needs. You went into spring training with Marco Luciano, given every opportunity to win the shortstop job, and every day he has shown you, I am not your shortstop. So now you're going with Nick Ahmed and Tyler Fitzgerald as your shortstops. Okay, there's a loss. You should get a win in Matt Chapman. He's an outstanding player. You get him on a deal. He's as brilliant a defensive third baseman as you'll get, or at least was. Maybe that's fallen off a smidge. Regardless, you had a lot to work with there, a lot of margin for error. But then the J.D. Davis situation and how coldly they did him, though, by the way, every other team in Major League Baseball deserves some scorn with this too. Like, it's taken a lot of the shine off there. Where else are you looking? I mean, Jung-Hoo Lee has been awesome. Is Jung-Hoo Lee going to sell you some tickets? I don't think Luis Matos is going to sell you some tickets, but at least he is a clear sign that the organization knows how to develop a position player. Who else? Who else is the competition there? Bailey, Patrick Bailey, defensive first catcher. I mean, Thairo Estrada, I don't think counts. Clearly, Marco Luciano ain't the guy. You need a win like Luis Matos, a guy who, for the last 2 years, has done exactly what the organization has asked him to do. Last 2 years ago, it was get on base more, develop an eye. You can't be hacking up there all the time. He went out and he did that. He's developed a nice eye. Not going to be great, might not be Yaz, but he's got a good eye. In this past year, they said, hey, these balls that you're hitting to the warning track, they're great and all. Why don't we put them over the fence? And he goes out there and he adds a lot of weight and he adds some serious muscle. And you watch him at the plate, he's got pop and he's got presence and he's got juice. And I'm looking at a lineup right now where you got questions up and down in the pitching staff. That's fine. You knew that. But you got a lot of questions in the lineup too. And you didn't come through with Luciano. He didn't come through for you. The Chapman signing should be really fun and exciting, but it doesn't feel that way anymore. And you're looking at a lineup where you're really talking yourself into Thairo Estrada day in, day out. Good player. Very good player. I don't think that he should be the heartbeat of your team. I really don't. You're talking yourself into Michael Conforto having a real big bounce back year. I don't think that's a good thing to be selling at the start of the season. Meanwhile, you have two guys who are eminently replaceable. So much so that they're not even everyday players in Yaz and Slater. And you have a guy in Matos right now that I think should be an everyday player. At least he's beaten both of those guys out. He's beaten everybody out. He's been their best hitter by far. Sending him down to AAA is a waste of time. It's a waste of his time. All you can do is take the shine off the kid. All you can do is lose whatever momentum he had. Because if he goes down and rakes in AAA for a month or two, are you going to call him up then? Is that the difference? Oh, you do it for another month? Do it for another month. Do it for another month. At what point have you seen enough from Luis Matos to know that this is a guy who is better than the options you already have in right field? For me, it's the here and now. Maybe I'm impatient. But again, I'm looking at this Farhan Zaidi regime, and I'm saying, where are the wins, buddy? And I'm looking at a win in Luis Matos, and he's saying, no, we're not ready. He's not ready. All because you're afraid of what would happen if you leave, if you jettison Mike Yastrzemski or you jettison Austin Slater, and then Matos doesn't come through. And now you don't have that guy that you can pull back in. I mean, are these guys that you really want to put your neck on the line for? I don't think so. I don't think so. Yaz has been nothing but a consummate professional. He's a great guy. I've enjoyed my conversations with him immensely. He's been very helpful to us idiots in the media. I like Mike Yastrzemski a lot. I really do. He is not worth sticking your head out for. He's not. It's just, he's a 30. He's going into his age 34 season, and his best baseball's behind him, and he hasn't even hit free agency yet. I think he still has another year of arbitration. This is a guy who was a win for you at one point. I don't think he's a win any longer. And this is a Giants organization that has shown time and time again that they're willing to make cold, hard, calculated decisions for marginal upgrades. Here's a massive upgrade. Even if Luis Matos is just a marginal upgrade statistically over what you have in right field, he's a massive upgrade for what he means to the fan base and what he means to the organization, because it tells everybody we're coming. We got the young dudes and they're coming. You got Marco Luciano. He's got to spend some time in AAA. That's fine. Maybe he can come up halfway through the season. Maybe he can still be the guy they think him to be. But Luis Matos is doing it now. And I don't like the message that it sends when you take unquestionably your best hitter this spring and you say he needs more seasoning. For what? For what? He played 70-something games in the majors last year. He had moments in the majors last year, and he's appreciably better today. Why wait? Fear? Buddy, if you can't ride through the fear a little bit, you don't stand a chance. There's enough competition for the 83-84 win club, the wild cards, much less in the National League West. Do something bold, do something brash, take your best hitter from the Cactus League and put him in right field on opening day. There's still a week where they can figure this thing out. I don't know what Mike Yastrzemski's trade value is. I don't know what Austin Slater's trade value is. They're not in a position like J.D. Davis where their contracts wouldn't be guaranteed because they signed a one-year deal. They settled with the Giants in arbitration before they went to a hearing. So it's different. And no one likes talking about that CBA shit, but like it is different. If you get rid of one of them, you can bring in Matos, and then maybe you don't even have to put him in there every day. If you really like Slater's glove, you keep him around as the extra glove. If you really like Yaz's bat from the left side, you platoon him and Matos. Like it's. I just think it would speak volumes if they don't roll with Luis Matos, because he's done everything they've asked him to do. He's ripping the cover off the ball. He's doing great work, and it doesn't look like it's going to be rewarded. And I think that speaks volumes. Speaks volumes to a fan base that really needs something to get excited over, and for good reason. All right. Thanks for everybody for joining in today. If you haven't already, you can subscribe to the podcast feed. It's much better than looking at my mug. If you haven't already, you can subscribe on the YouTube feed as well. That link is right above me on X, and it's obviously right under me on YouTube. If you're finding me there, we'll get this audio feed put out ASAP. You can find it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Be back on Monday. We'll recap everything that happened in the weekend in Bay Area sports. Until then, have a good one.